So while the on-the-field conversation about the offensive line is obviously can it be better than it was last year, especially the last time that the general public got to see them in the Cotton Bowl, the bigger issue here is what the future of the offensive line room looks like. I'm Stephen Means, and that's Andrew Gillis, and we talked with Justin Frye as Ohio State continues to prepare for the 2024 season. Get the text 614-350-3315. We were sending out a lot of these texts today. Andrew, he got asked every possible recruiting question that you could ask him. What stood out about what he had to say, and just your opinions on maybe what Justin Frye had to say about a recruiting class right now that I think has two commits in it with Carter Lowe and Jake Cook, and they missed out on Davis Sanders, but obviously we're still a few months away from signing day, but it does not look great right now.
The quote I think that we need to keep in mind, and by the way, for people watching this, he cannot say, we think Carter Lowe is a great tackle. We think Jake Cook's a great guard. You cannot talk about an individual until they are signed. So you kind of have to speak in this abstract, right? So I think that is kind of one of the challenges of Justin Frye talking about it, of asking about it. You can't say, you missed out on David Sanders, let's ask you about it. So, but with that said, one of the things that I think is interesting, or maybe one of the more interesting headline quotes, the headline of this, if you will, would be, keep your head on a swivel, because that has to be their mantra for the next 2 weeks, or 2-3 months, right? That has to be what you're after. So Javen McFadden, one of their interior offensive line prospects, he's set to commit on Saturday. Sounds like things are going good for Ohio State in that regard. We'll see on Saturday officially. They need a recruitment like that. They need something to go their way on the offensive line. But more than that, you need to be in flip season. You need to be working on kids who maybe are committed to other programs right now that you can bring into Ohio State. You need to be working on kids that maybe don't have an Ohio State offer right now, that you can evaluate some senior film, that you can look at that. I mean, evaluating senior film is very different from evaluating sophomore and junior film. You might be dealing with a lineman who, when he's a sophomore, he's 6'5", 250 pounds, and you look at that kid and go, man, his dad is 6'6", and he can gain X amount of weight, and he can do this, this, and this, and this, and it's much more of a projection. When you get to your senior year, you're still not a finished product, but you're getting close. You're getting close to the size. So senior film is going to be very interesting for Justin Frye and kind of this Ohio State staff and evaluation of what they can do. But that has to be the narrative right now, because go look at the recruiting rankings. All these 5-stars are gone, right? Like all these kids are committed elsewhere. A lot of the 4-stars are committed elsewhere. A lot of Ohio State's targets have committed elsewhere. You have to be in this mode of kind of flip discovery, however you want to phrase it. And I think that is something that I took note of Justin Frye saying, keep your head on a swivel, because it is August 22nd as we're doing this video. Signing day is in like 3 months, 3 months in a week, 3 months in 2 weeks, something like that. You better have it figured out by then. You better have something in line, and I think that you kind of have to hold Justin Frye to that. You have to hold him to what he said today, which is keep your head on a swivel. Things are coming. Well, we're going to find out.
I would be paying attention to top 100 recruit Micah DeBose. He's from Alabama, but he's got some huge ties to Ohio. Right now he's committed to Ohio State, but I would be keeping an eye on that. I think the biggest takeaway I had today, and it's the gripe I have, and I think it's the gripe that a lot of the fan base has right now, is the evaluation of the offensive line and the not necessarily spreading your net as wide as it can possibly go to go get guys. And so what it creates is a situation where we're all saying, hey, is David Sanders going to come here? Well, no, he's going to go to Tennessee. Okay, well, then who are you going to get? And when you put yourself in those situations, where does Ohio State go and go again? And Justin Frye was talking about, as you mentioned, there's going to be junior film and senior film coming out. And there's always those offensive linemen who pop up in their senior years because they've physically developed. There's junior year film. There's a lot of these guys, when you look at the 26 and the 27 and 28 class, they have not played high school varsity football yet. So they're waiting on some of that stuff. I get that. I just think sometimes it's okay to do some projecting. And this is not a conversation about one kid. This is a conversation about the overall operation, about how they go about evaluating the offensive line, sending out those offers, and how they go about recruiting that position. Because right now, if you're a fan, you can feel like if you don't go get a kid from the SEC, if you don't go get the 5-star kid, then you end up with nothing unless the kid is in your backyard.
So one of the things that I think Ohio State fans, they were upset about at the time, I think it maybe looks a little bit better in retrospect, was the recruitment of Gabe Van Sickle. He was committed to Northwestern at this time last year. Months go along, season goes along, his senior film comes out. He really improves as a player from his junior year to his senior year. He really takes that step forward. Ohio State gets involved. That is where Ohio State needs to live in the present. That is where Ohio State needs to be in 2024. You are absolutely right, though, because you don't want to be in this position next year. You don't want to be if Ohio State is having this conversation next year of saying, all right, well, we missed out on our A, B, and C targets. Who's next? We don't really know. We got to figure that out. If we're doing this same video a year from now, that's a problem, right? You have to kind of get out ahead of these things. So you can play catch up now, and those things are great. And look, you might get a Gabe Van Sickle who can turn into a really solid interior offensive lineman for you. Things can work out. You don't want to make your living trying to flip kids who were originally committed to Northwestern. You don't want to make your living trying to pull 3-star kids, from, wherever that are 900th ranked in the country. Of course, offensive lineman is a development position, but you can't make your living in that regard. So, yes, I think you have to cast a wider net. You have to have more B, C, and D options than just if it doesn't work out for us with David Sanders. Oh boy, I don't know. You're scratching your head. You're kind of putting your hand in, going, man, what in the world are we going to do? You can't be in that situation. So that's the situation they're in right now. They can't really fix this right now, other than trying to flip kids and other than trying to get kids who maybe don't have Ohio State offers, as I said. But as you evaluate this film for the 25 class, that needs to be where you're at. When the 26 class, there are a bunch of Ohio kids on the offensive line in that 26 class. You need to get out ahead of that now. You need to get out ahead of this now. You need to make these kids interested in Ohio State, if they're not already, now.
With all that said, Ohio State has the #1 recruiting class in the country right now.
I have a lot to say.
It's the conversation, obviously, is the offensive line, and how is the offensive line recruiting going to improve over the next couple of years here as Justin Frye and Ryan Day are just kind of navigating through this new world with NIL and all that stuff. Obviously, we're going to very quickly here, 105 is going to be the scholarship count for college football. How does that evolve? How does the process evolve? Hit the text 614-350-3315, and we'll continue to have this conversation on Buckeye Talk, so go listen to that wherever you find podcasts. I'm Steven. That's Andrew. Ohio State still has the #1 recruiting class in the country, guys. We'll talk to you guys later.